Aloha.
Aloha.
We can still say aloha kakahiaka. Say that.
Aloha kakahiaka.
Very good. Aloha kakahiaka. Simply means good morning. Aloha kakahiaka is good morning. Aloha awinala is good afternoon. Aloha ahi ahi is good evening, good afternoon, good morning. And my name is Kainoa. Say that.
Kainoa.
Beautiful. You know I know Kainoa. Very simple. And I get the name from my grandfather because the day I was born, my mother went into labor. My dad was out looking for surf. But luckily, there was no surf. The ocean and the sea was calm and peaceful. So thus the name for me, Kainoa, simply refers to calm, peace, or free at sea. In the Hawaiian dictionary, it simply means the name. But for me, it refers to peace at sea or calm at sea. And so there are two types of Hawaiian names. There are traditional names that are given at the time of birth, usually by an elder, and it's usually an event surrounding the birth, or it could be an English name translated into Hawaiian, Tavika, David, Keone, John, and Keoki, George. Or it could be an old family name brought back from the past and brought back up to the front line once again. So, as she mentioned, I'm a native of Honolulu. I'm born and raised in the beautiful city of Honolulu. In addition to that, for those of you that I met some of you, but in addition to that, I went to school in New York City. I lived in New York City for 27 years. I also lived in Detroit, Michigan, in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I spent about 34 years away from Hawaii. I'm semi-retired. I worked for the Hawaii Visitors and Convention Bureau for many years. In addition to working on cruise ships, I also do a variety of things when I'm on land. And I was recently transferred from the Zaida Dam here. I arrived here in Honolulu, and the Zaida Dam, as we know, is doing the world cruise, and so I was there, and I'm here. And I'm glad to be here. Love the Coney Dam ship. You guys having a good time, yes? All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about Hawaii, and I'm going to talk about Hawaii in the realm that you've already experienced Hawaii. So I'm going to kind of add to what you've experienced in Hawaii. There's so many neat things that make Hawaii a unique place. Hawaii, the state, is quite different from the other 49 states. We're really a state, place unto ourselves. It is without doubt the most exotic state. It is the only state made up of islands. The state of Hawaii is made up of 750 miles of coastline. It is the fourth after Alaska, California, and Florida. And so it's unique in that sense. I'm going to talk about culture. I'm going to talk about flora, fauna. I'm going to give you the perspective of what it's like to be from there. I'm going to talk about family. You know, my idea is not lecture. My idea is talk story. And that's the method I'm going to use. I sit down and very casually talk story. And we're going to share what Hawaii, or how I see Hawaii. And the geology and geography of Hawaii is unique in the sense that, again, it's made up of volcanoes. But before I get into the scientific realm of how Hawaii was made, in Hawaiian culture, in our lineage, in our genealogy, we talk about the creation of Hawaii. And it is created by this chant called the Kumulipo. The Kumulipo is known as the Hawaiian creation chant. It consists of 2,012 lines. And this chant, of course, consists of 16 different was or sections. In each was, something is born, whether it's human, plant, or creature. In the first 8 was, it falls under the time of Po, the time of darkness. This creation chant rivals Darwin's theory of creation. And I find it quite amazing that my ancestors, some 10,000 years ago, had the ability to imagine the creation. The first 4 lines in the chant read, in English, it reads, at the time when the earth was hot, at a time when it turned about, at a time when the sun was darkened, to call the moon to shine. That's the first 4 lines. So how did they know that it started off with darkness? But in this chant, of course, it's quite impressive. And so for Hawaiians, this is how Hawaii was made, through this creation chant called the Kumulipo. Now, the Hawaiian Islands are the most isolated island group in the world. When you talk about isolated island, you're talking about the island of Rapa Nui and Easter Island. When you talk about island group, it's the Hawaiian Islands. The Hawaiian archipelago stretches across the North Pacific for 1,600 miles. So if we include our water space, Hawaii would definitely be one of the largest states, but we don't. Therefore, the state of Hawaii is ranked 46 among the 50. It consists of 134 islands and atolls. It stretches 1,600 miles, which is the distance from Los Angeles to New Orleans. There are 8 major Hawaiian islands, and the 8 major Hawaiian islands are Hawaii Island, Maui, Kaho'olawe, Lanai, Moloka'i, Oahu, and Kauai. So going back here, let me get my pointer up. Going back here, this would be, where are we? We're all over. So let me put this clicker down for a second. All right, so this right here is Hawaii Island, Maui, Kaho'olawe, Lanai, Moloka'i, Oahu, Kauai, and Niihau. So this would be the 8 major Hawaiian islands, and of course then you have all of this right here. So everything is part of the state of Hawaii with the exception of Midway. Midway, although part of the Hawaiian archipelago, falls under the jurisdiction of the federal government. So it's not part of the state, it is owned by the federal government. So this would be the Hawaiian archipelago. This part of the Hawaiian island chain right here is known as the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands, falls under a federal protection placed by Bush II, and currently it is the largest protected area in the United States. In Alaska, usually when I do trivia, I ask the people in the trivia in Alaska, on the Alaska cruise, what is the largest protected area in the United States? And because we're in Alaska, they assume that it's in Alaska, but it's not. The largest protected area in the United States is in Hawaii. In fact, it is so large, it is larger than all the national parks combined. Most of it is water, but then it is part of the protected area. So this would be the Hawaiian archipelago. 130, 32, 34, some things will say 37. But again, this is all what makes up the state of Hawaii. Beautiful place. And again, sitting in the middle of the North Pacific. When I lived in Detroit, the girls in the office would often refer to me as the South Pacific man. I used to like, they sound nice, the South Pacific man. But I tell them, actually, I'm not from the South Pacific. I'm in the North Pacific because Hawaii is located 1,000 miles north of the equator. And so we sit in the North Pacific. It is estimated that upwards to anywhere between 80 to 100 million years ago, an earthquake occurred in the North Pacific, a violent earthquake. It was so vicious, it opened up the ocean floor. When it opened up the ocean floor, lava began to come out of the ocean floor. This lava began to build and build and build and created an underwater volcano, simply known as a submarine volcano. It grew larger and larger and larger and larger until it pierced the ocean surface till the first Hawaiian island was born. We're sitting on a tectonic plate that is moving in the direction of the Japanese islands and the Russian peninsula at a rate of 3 to 5 inches every year. Tectonic plates are very powerful. In fact, Pangea that you see back there, that supercontinent through tectonic plates, tore Pangea apart and moved Pangea into different directions. That same tectonic plate is taking the Hawaiian Islands, formed on a single hotspot, and like a conveyor belt, one island is formed, the next it moves away. The next island is formed, it is moved away. So out of the 8 major Hawaiian islands, the oldest would be Kauai. And although you didn't get to actually go to Kauai, I understand that you got to see the beautiful Napali coast. It is absolutely beautiful, and I'm sure you'll agree. So that island is the oldest, 5 million years, formed in the hotspot, moved away. The next one, Oahu, formed in the hotspot, moved away. Maui, Moloka'i, Lanai, formed in the hotspot, moved away. The big island that we just left is sitting on that hotspot today. And that's why the Big Island has active volcanoes. And again, it's through this tectonic plates that is moving the Hawaiian Islands in that northwesterly direction. And so we are sitting in the middle of the North Pacific in the largest single feature on the globe. Think about that, the largest single feature on the globe, the mighty Pacific Ocean. The mighty Pacific Ocean consists of 70 million square miles of water. It is larger than all the continents put together. That's a lot of water. It is 10,000 miles north and south, 10,000 miles east and west. And Hawaii is located right in the middle of all of that. Around us is known as the Ring of Fire. This Ring of Fire is one of the most active regions in the world when it comes to things like earthquakes, when it comes to things like volcanoes, when it comes to events like tsunamis. In fact, Hawaii is the tsunami capital of the world. And so this whole area is quite active. In fact, while we're there was an earthquake. I don't know if you felt it, but there was an earthquake when we were in Kona, I believe, and a pretty good sized one. Also, there was an earthquake in California as well. So again, the Earth is alive. We like to think that the Earth is very stable, it's very strong, it's very thick, that it spins around and goes around the sun. But the reality is, the planet we live on is very thin, the area we live on. Most of the planet is made up of molten rock, and we are literally floating on top of this molten rock. And this is a result of tectonic plates, which is I find quite fascinating. And this is the topography of the ocean floor. Moana Nui in Hawaiian simply means ocean, or big ocean. Moana means ocean, meaning in terms of ocean that I cannot see all of it. When you talk about ocean, you can also use the word kai, and that would mean mainly salt water, but Nui would be big. But look at the topography of the ocean floor. All it is mountains, sea mountains. In fact, the deepest part of the planet is located in the Western Pacific, the Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is so deep that you can stick Mount Everest inside that trench and a mile of water would sit on top of Mount Everest. Think about that. That's deep. The water surrounding Hawaii average a depth of about 18,000 feet deep. Think about that, 18,000 feet deep. That's 18 Empire State Buildings stacked on one another. That's 18 CN Towers stacked on one another. That's scary deep in my books. That's the kind of deep you don't want to drop your car keys overboard because you're never going back. And so again, the Pacific tectonic plate. It's quite intriguing, the Pacific Ocean is. And this is underwater volcanoes. This is particularly the volcano known as Lo'ihi. And Lo'ihi is sitting about 20 miles east of Hawaii Island, and it's an island being born right now. Lo'ihi is growing larger and larger. Currently, it is above the height of Mount St. Helens. In fact, taller than Mount St. Helens, a little bit. And it's growing larger and larger. So you're talking about a big mountain that's submerged underwater. This volcano is growing and growing and growing. Eventually, Lo'ihi will pierce the ocean surface, and at that time, we'll have a brand new Hawaiian island. And again, the tectonic plates is moving. So eventually, the big island will move away from the hot spot. So the Hawaiian Islands are still being created as we speak. These are islands that are being born near Tonga in the South Pacific. And quite intriguing and fascinating when they do pierce the ocean surface, the beauty and the violence that she allows us to witness. Look at that, an island being born. That's coming up from the depth of the mighty Pacific and creating new islands. So this is what Hawaii looked like many years ago, just like that. It just grew larger and larger and larger. And then eventually goes larger and larger. Ke Kama Popolo in Hawaiian would refer to the dark island or the black island. Ke Kama would be child, and Popolo is a berry. We have an endemic berry. We have it's a black berry, and we use that berry oftentimes to describe dark or black. But look at that; it's just getting larger and larger. That's what Hawaii looked like. So again, we're sitting on this tectonic plate that is building these islands and literally moving them off. And that's Lo'ihi that you see 20 miles off the Big Island. So all we are mountains that are sticking above the ocean. In fact, these mountains are often regarded as the tallest mountains on Earth. If you went into the Guinness Book of World Records and you looked at the tallest mountain on Earth, it's not Everest, it is Mauna Kea on Hawaii Island. In fact, on Mauna Kea, technically, if you measure it, you have to start from the ocean floor, because all she is a mountain sitting on the ocean floor. So if you measure Mauna Kea from the ocean floor to its summit, it stands over 34,000 feet. We know Mount Everest stands at 29,000 feet. When you measure Mauna Kea from sea level to the top, Mauna Kea stands 13,790 feet. These volcanoes in Hawaii are known as Sheild Volcanoes. There are two types of volcanoes in the world, two general types, Sheild Volcanoes and Composite Volcanoes. Sheild volcanoes are what you find in Hawaii. This is Mauna Loa in Hawaii. When we're in Kona, and when we're in Hilo, you saw in the distance, a mountain in the far distance, and that's the mountain you're looking at, Mauna Loa. Mauna Loa translated means long mountain. And so these mountains, again, are the largest in the world. measured from the ocean floor to the sun. And these mountains are snow-capped. Mauna Kea did show itself for a little bit yesterday, and there's a little bit of snow on the top. But Hawaii is unique in the sense that we experience all weathers in Hawaii. In fact, there are a couple of times during the winter when the weatherman will report that there is snow on the ground in every single state. And it includes Florida, and it also includes Hawaii. And that's because of these mountains are snow-capped. Quite beautiful. So you can snow ski in the morning and surf in the afternoon. Now, shield volcanoes are interesting. Shield volcanoes have lost a lot of violent gases. So when they erupt, they mainly consist of lava fountaining. So that's why they're large and dome-shaped, just like Mauna Kea. Maui is Mount Haleakala. They're dome-shaped. And because they lost a lot of their violent gases, when they erupt, people run to them, as opposed to composite volcanoes, which are very explosive because they maintain and carry a lot of violent gases. When they do erupt, they're very explosive. Mountain Helens, those are composite. But shield volcanoes, because they've lost a lot of gases, when they erupt, they mainly consist of lava fountains. So instead of running away, people run to them. And that's why volcanologists and geologists love Hawaiian volcanoes, because they're tame, they're friendly. And when they erupt, they mainly consist of lava fountaining. And this is part of the Kilauea Iki eruption that occurred in 2018 on the Big Island. And this is the most active volcano in the world. This is Mau crater on the Big Island. Some of you have gone to the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. And she's quite active. In fact, it is predicted that she should erupt any time now. There's so much activity going on around the Volcanoes National Park. They're predicting that an earthquake, not an earthquake, but a volcanic eruption will occur, and soon. This is how they erupt. They mainly open up rift zones, and these cracks open up and all these lava comes spewing out. And so when it erupts in this style, it is known as a curtain of lava. Quite beautiful. These eruptions, of course, we run to. The one that just occurred, of course, that eruption attracted thousands, tens of thousands of people will go to these eruptions. This is Kilauea Iki, major fountaining. That particular fountain you're looking at is shooting up over 1,000 feet in the air. So imagine Mother Nature. She's so powerful that she can spit molten rock in the air 1,000 feet. In fact, in 1959, when Hawaii became a state, she shot up so much lava that it raised almost 2,000 feet. That's 2 Empire State Buildings. So that's the kind of energy that we're sitting underneath. And so this is Kilauea Iki today. She has left behind a huge caldera. The caldera is big enough to fit the Houston Astrodome. And of course, again, it was there that she shot up over almost 2,000 feet up into the air. And again, this is Mauna Kea, meaning White Mountain. Mauna Loa, meaning Long Mountain. Mauna Kea, again, according to the Guinness Book of World Records, the tallest mountain on Earth. And again, look how beautiful she is. You know, Hawaii is unique in that regard, that the beauty of Hawaii really extends outwards. I mean, it's really hard to compare Hawaii with the other states because we truly stand alone. There's no other state that even comes close to what Hawaii is really all about. The other type of volcano is known as a composite. So this, you're talking about Mount Fuji, Mount Rainier, Mount Shasta, Mount Hood, Mount Baker, Mount Laysan. These are all composite. They're beautiful volcanoes. As you can see, Mount Fuji right here. But then they hold a lot of violent gases. So imagine Mount Rainier sitting right outside of Seattle, Washington. To think that volcano breathes like that. It expands. To think that there's so much power inside that volcano that 14,000 feet of rock can actually expand. That's amazing. That's scary. To think that anything below it is at risk. We all know what these eruptions are like. Mount St. Helens was a prime example of how vicious these volcanoes are. We all saw that video at some time. How it literally pushes a mountain 10,000 feet, literally pushes it out and blows it out. And it destroys everything around. And this is typical composite. And so when these volcanoes erupt, people run away from these volcanoes. Scientists don't want to get too close to these volcanoes because they're very predictable, they're violent. These volcanoes are famous for things like pyroclastic flows, things that come rushing down the mountains, hot ash that comes rushing down the mountains. So these are composite. Again, the other ones are shield volcanoes. This is Mount St. Helens, what's left of it. To think that when it exploded, it knocked off almost 4,000 feet of its top. That's a lot of mountain. Now, if you remember in Honolulu, the mountain range in back of the city, that stands about 4,000 feet. Imagine an energy so powerful that it'll boom, disintegrate that 4,000 feet of mountain. And that's what happened here, Mount St. Helens. Almost 4,000 feet gone. And again, and she's not done yet. She will erupt again someday. And this is how she erupts. Look at that. That whole side of the mountain, all that rock, all that mountain just literally being pushed. I mean, there's nothing man can make that can push that much volume out like that. I mean, there's not even a bomb we can create that could push everything out like that. That's, when I saw this, and I watch it, when I do watch it, I always stop to watch. And I think, wow, that's some powerful stuff. Devastating it was. And some of you actually remember that. And these are what it used to look like and what it looks like today. The same photo, look at that. All that forest that was around it, gone. It flapped in the forest for miles and miles and miles. A lot of energy. So these are volcano eruptions of Hawaii. They're not explosive. As you can see, Mauna Kea. They mainly consist of lava fountain. All those black fingers you see are nothing but lava flows that come down. So she's actually getting taller and taller when they erupt, as opposed to blowing its top off. The big island that we were on, Kona and Hilo, is large. In fact, it is over 4,000 square miles in size. It is larger than the state of Connecticut. That's why the recommendation was, whether you're in Kona or Hilo, not to drive across the island, because that's too much of a drive. If you drove around the entire island, that's over 400 miles of driving. That's a lot of island. People oftentimes assume that we live in a very small little island. When I lived in Michigan, they thought that Hawaii was small, you could walk around it. I said, well, you could, but I wouldn't. But as you know, for those of you first time now experience, that it's not as small an island as you may have once thought it was. This is Mauna Kea, looking at it from Hilo on a clear day when it's completely covered in snow. And so quite impressive to think that it snows in this part of the world. There's only 2 places in Polynesia where snow falls, and Hawaii is part of Polynesia. Polynesia starts in Hawaii, goes all the way down to Aotearoa in New Zealand, and it goes all the way across the Pacific to Rapa Nui or Easter Island. These 3 points are known as the Polynesian Triangle. Later, when I talk about migration, we'll talk about the Polynesian Triangle. So there's only 2 places in the Polynesian Triangle where snow falls. One is Hawaii, the second one is in New Zealand. Beautiful Mauna Kea. And this is on Maui. This is Haleakala on Maui, when she does get snow on Maui. And so again, quite fascinating that a place in the subtropics, a place where you can sit on the beach at 80 degrees, and yet within an hour go up into an elevation where it's now 30 degrees and snow. It's quite amazing. This is lava flow as it's coming down from Mauna Kea recently. And to think that this is molten rock. The next time you find a rock on the road, I want you to imagine heating up that rock with temperatures so high that it melts it. Think about that. Molten rock, that's all it is. In fact, lava is molten rock, and lava is quite impressive. There are 2 types of lavas. There's one here called Pa Hoi Hoi. Say that, Pa Hoi Hoi.
Hoi hoi.
It's a scientific name you'll find in the English dictionary. And again, because scientists and volcanologists study Hawaiian volcanoes, they've given these volcanoes Hawaiian names, scientific names. And the scientific name for this flow is called Pahoi Hoi. Pahoi Hoi is moving at temperatures that are exceeding 3,800 degrees Fahrenheit. It is so hot, and it is molten the rock to move like water. In fact, coming downhill, this lava flow can move at speeds that can exceed 50 miles an hour. That's fast. because it's all it is. It's molten rock, so hot that it moves fast. And so again, this type is called pohoipo. When it cools, it's quite beautiful. It's smooth. And for those of you that went to the Volcano National Park, when it cools, it turns smooth and it turns iridescent. It's all different colors of the rainbow inside of it. This is the other type of lava flow called a'a. Say that, a'a. Another scientific word. So the next time you play Scrabble and you have too much A's, remember 2 A's make a word. You can prove it in the dictionary. And it pronounces a'a. In my language, when you have 2 vowels, you put that glottal stop we call an okina. And the okina in between the vowels simply tells me to break the sound of the vowel. So instead of dragging the as you would think you would say ah. Now if there's a line over the vowel, then you would drag the sound, But that thing in the middle tells me to break the sound. So has lost its temperatures. Now you're talking about lava that's under 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit. And now it's not as hot, so it hasn't melted the rock. So when it flows, it literally crumbles forward. And it moves very slow. In fact, you can watch this, you can stand in front of it and watch it crumble towards you. So when it finally crumbles towards you and it cools, it's very jagged. So maybe Hawaiians call it because if you were to walk on it barefoot, the first result would be but not correct. The word in Hawaiian simply means to roll. To roll. Amazing. This is craters you'll find on Oahu, and you'll find them on the other islands. These are the famous ones. Diamond Head, which Hawaiians call Le'ahi. 1820, British settlers went up there and found what they thought were diamonds. It turned out to be calcite crystal, but her actual name is Le'ahi. This one here, the eastern part of the city, known as Koko. Punch Bowl Crater, which the National Cemetery is located in, that's Hawaiian name is Pu'o'ovaina. These are known as secondary eruptions. These are tuff cones. These are non-traditional in a volcanic sense. These volcanoes occurred after the island was already formed. So the island of Oahu was formed about 3 million years ago. These eruptions occurred about 175,000 years ago, so it's fairly new features on the island of Oahu. These are a result of seam explosions. So earthquakes that had occurred on Oahu, or near Oahu, had opened up passages where water could go down. And when seawater went down into these passages, or it could have been artesian water, went down into these cracks, when it finally met molten rock, the reaction was violent. It created steam explosions. And these volcanoes, we know, lasted for about 2 weeks. They were very violent when they erupted. They lasted for 2 weeks. What you see is a result of steam explosions, so it's not traditional because when volcanoes erupt, the lava that it spews is black. But you notice the rock here, it's not. It's a beigeish color. And sometimes you'll see white layers or white stripes inside this volcano. And all it is ash, building up of ash. So sometimes you see white. The white represents reef that was pulverized. And of course you'll see the colors or the shades of red. And red comes from the high content of iron oxide, which is very common in volcanic events. So again, these are non-traditional volcanic sense. This is Diamond Head as seen from above. A lot of people don't know that it's actually a big crater. That's what it looks like from above. We know that the trade winds were prevailing 175,000 years ago because the tallest part of Diamond Head is 163 feet. Again, the winds pushing majority of the ash in that direction. Those buildings you see inside the crater are civil defense and National Guard. In the event of a catastrophic event, all the important people, excluding me, will be sent to bunkers located inside. Some of you may have done the hike up to the summit of Diamond Head, which of course offers a beautiful view of the city of Honolulu. And so these are scientific slumps that you'll find throughout the Hawaiian Islands. And I want to get into these cracks that you see here. When the volcano erupts in the Big Island, it extends the island outwards. So Hawaii is unique in the sense that it's the only state that's growing larger and larger. So as the lava flows along the coastline, it flows onto the beaches and it just inches its way out. It grows. But as it grows outwards, all that weight that it accumulates, at some point, the bottom cannot support that, and it boom, it collapses like this. When it falls, you have that look right there. The new lava will come on top of it and build on top of it, and it'll boom, it'll collapse until it is strong enough to hold the island as it extends outwards. And so these catastrophic breaks are common in volcanic islands. And these catastrophic breaks occur on all the islands. In fact, catastrophic landslides are very common in volcanic islands. What you see here, those dotted lines indicate catastrophic landslides. Look at the one where Oahu is. You see how it extends out? The debris. We know this landslide occurred where the island literally breaks apart and boom, falls into the ocean. We know that the catastrophic or the landslide in Oahu was major because we can find pieces of Oahu sitting off Oahu, all of this right here, sitting off Oahu, indicating that a massive landslide occurred. When this landslide occurred, it was catastrophic. It affected the entire Pacific basin. In fact, they say that it affected the entire planet. The effects were felt as far away as the Mediterranean. They said when the island literally falls into the ocean, as it did, it sent a tsunami slamming the entire Pacific. It said that it sent a wave towards North America, California, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, Alaska. This tsunami coming towards California, and some areas measured almost 2,000 feet. That's 2,000 feet of water, wave, a tsunami coming towards the West Coast. And they know this happened because they can find seashells 400 miles up the Columbia River. So the question is, how did these seashells get 400 miles up the Columbia River? And it got there because this catastrophic landslide occurred. In fact, this landslide occurred on all the islands. In fact, it's not done yet. If you went to the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, there's a crack that runs right through the whole national park. This crack runs for over 40 miles. Every year, this crack gets wider and wider and wider, indicating that the eastern tip of the Big Island is starting to lean like this. When that occurs, it'll be catastrophic, for sure. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. They know that this will happen. The good news is, not this week. But they know that it'll happen. And the Canary Islands in the Atlantic Ocean, visible signs of cracks along the Canary, indicating that the Canary Islands at some point will collapse into the Atlantic. You know, volcanic islands are not strong. They're made of, that's lava. You know, the rock that creates these islands are volcanic lava. They're not big, dense basalt. These are lava. It's porous. And so it tears away, it erodes quickly, it cracks easily. And so that's why volcanoes don't last very long. Islands don't last long. That's why the northwestern Hawaiian islands have all gone back into the ocean. Erosion has eaten these islands away, so all you have is atolls. Quite interesting, all this stuff. So this is what Oahu used to look like, young ko'olau, and then the ko'olau after the collapse. So when you're on Oahu and you're driving around the island, you notice that the Honolulu side, the mountains gradually work their way to the coastline. But if you're on the other side of the island, the mountains are very vertical. So what you're looking at are the walls of this great volcano. The tops of these mountains are the rims of this great volcano. The Honolulu side that goes down into Waikiki, those are the slopes of this great volcano. Erosion has eaten the slopes, creating all the valleys. Therefore, on the other side is the crater floor. But volcanoes are circular in shape. So if those are the walls of this volcano, it should go up and down the coastline as it does, but it should turn, and there should be one where the ocean now is visible. So that part where the ocean is the area that collapsed into the ocean. Catastrophic landslides. And all the islands, this is Moloka'i, catastrophic landslides. Same thing, the Napali Coast on Kauai, how vertical it is, that's a sign of catastrophe. Imagine that part of the island is underwater because it fell apart. That's why these cliffs are the way they look. In fact, the cliffs of Moloka'i are the tallest sea cliffs in the world. And it's literally cracked, and it just falls into it. These are lava tubes that are very common in volcanic areas. All it is a stream of lava, and as the volume of lava decreases, it cools the inside. as it cools, and as the volume of the lava flow gets smaller, it creates a flow, but leaves a cavern behind. Some of you have gone to the Thurston's Lava Tube in the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, and the lava tubes on all the islands. In fact, there's a lava tube where I live in Honolulu. Well, it's off limits, but as kids, we went into that lava tube. And it said that lava tube stretches for over 30 miles on Oahu alone. Yeah, these are all signs of volcanic activity. This is, again, more lava tubes. And so Hawaii is unique. This is lava tubes that end up near the ocean. And when it ends up near the ocean, it creates these swimming holes. And some of these swimming holes are referred to as bottomless. And I hate that word bottomless when it comes to swimming, right? Even when we swim, sometimes we go fishing and we swim out in the open ocean. Say we're maybe 30 miles off Honolulu, and we jump in the water for a dip. When I'm in the water, of course, the temperature in the water out there is much cooler. But when I look down, all you see is blue, the abyss. And I always think, God, what's down there looking at me? So anytime it's at bottomless. But these you'll find throughout Hawaii, these swimming holes. This is the volcanoes from looking at from high above. When in 2018, when the volcano erupted in the Big Island, it was one of the largest contributors of pollution on the planet. There's a lot of toxic stuff that comes out. And so in 2018, when it erupted for several months, during that several months, it pumped out a lot of pollution onto the planet. That's, I guess, the bad thing about these eruptions. We worry about things like global warming, but we don't have to. Global warming is one of the ways that can affect us in catastrophic form. But if a volcano erupts, say, for instance, a composite volcano. For instance, say right now they're kind of looking at Yellowstone National Park. They know that for a fact something's going on under Yellowstone. Parts of Yellowstone is lifting up like this. That area is known as a super mega volcano. If that was to explode, it would throw up enough debris up into our atmosphere. So much debris into our atmosphere, that whole thing would cloud the earth. And when it would cloud the earth, the sun would not shine. When the sun doesn't shine, things would die. And when it does rain, it'll rain acid rain, toxic. And everything that it touches will die. And so, things like these, so planet Earth, it's very important that we pay attention to her signals because it could treat us very bad. And so, that whole stuff, and for me, global warming is first and foremost, it's a natural phenomenon. Of course, as humans, we become catalysts to global warming, but it's a natural phenomenon that has occurred over and over again. We're just being a catalyst to the whole thing. But these are volcanoes you find throughout the world. So the whole planet is made up of different volcanoes. Whether it's in the Central America area, there is volcanoes you'll find along areas like Nicaragua and Guatemala. I remember arriving on a ship coming up from the South America. We pulled into Corinto in Nicaragua, and there, first thing in the morning, you can see the volcano. It's just smoking. And then I went on shore excursions in Guatemala, and not far away, you could hear boom, and you look up at the volcano, you see the big plume, and you can see all these pyroclastic flows, small ones coming down the mountain. And so volcanoes have always intrigued me, and so these things you'll find all over the planet. Beautiful. This is what it looks like at night. Look how beautiful that is. So while Mother Nature provides us some of the most beautiful scenery one can see, she also leaves the option of devastation that could affect us. And these are the Hawaiian Islands. This is Kauai. It is the oldest out of the 8 major Hawaiian islands. It is 5 million years old. It is about 500 square miles in size. This is Oahu. This is the island I'm from. It is about 632 square miles in size. It has the most population. Over 1 million people live in my island. Versus Kauai, which has only 62,000. So you can imagine what the island is like based on numbers. This would be Maui. It is 2 million years old. This is Hawaii Island, under 1 million years old. Again, the largest of the islands. And the word Hawaii, by the way, we believe means home away from home. And the word Hawaii appears throughout Polynesia. And so Hawaii is fascinating. Of course, making Honolulu the capital city, making it the tsunami capital of the world. We get more tsunamis than any other place on the planet, for sure. Anytime there's an earthquake, anywhere in the Pacific, Hawaii goes under a tsunami warning. The earthquake just in California placed Hawaii under a tsunami warning. And we've been hit by tsunamis. The last devastating tsunami was in 1975. Before that was in 1962. 1946 was another big one. 1946 was an earthquake in the Aleutian Islands. It was violent. It shook the Aleutian Islands so heavily that it created a tsunami. Back in 1946, there was no instruments that could tell us that it created a tsunami. So during the night, this wave came towards Hawaii. Now, tsunamis move fast. Tsunamis move at speeds about the same as an airplane, at 500 miles an hour. And so in 1946, it moved towards Hawaii, 500 miles an hour. There were no warning. So the next morning, Hawaii got up thinking that it was a regular morning. The tsunami hit us. That morning, April 1st, 1946, over 160 people would lose their lives. And so tsunamis, very careful. This is what tsunamis look like. This is in Japan. It literally overflows the harbors. This is how it pushes inland. And literally, if you took the beach, say my hands are the ocean, if you took the ocean and just lifted up like this, all the water would pour inwards. And that's what tsunamis really do. It's not necessarily a big wave, but it's just that power of the force of water rushing in. This is, of course, all in Japan. This is, something you don't want your house to look like. Now it turns into a boat in that open ocean. This is illustrated, of course, but look at that. Scary. The part where the Big Island is breaking off, they say when that occurs, it'll create a tsunami that'll hit Oahu in 20 minutes. They say that tsunami that will hit Oahu after that piece of the Big Island breaks off, will hit in 20 minutes, will be so large it would literally splash right over Diamond Head. It would literally push all the way. The whole city would be destroyed. This is pyroclastic flows, by the way, coming down the mountain here. This is in, I believe, in the Philippines. Look at that, running away from that. All it is hot ash. So once it passes, it leaves back devastation. It'll look like a fire went through your town. It'll burn everything. This is the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. Again, it is a protected area known as Papahanao Motu Akea. And the E in it didn't fit in that screen for some reason. It looks like an Eskimo word almost, but yeah, Papahanao Motu Akea. Again, Bush II put that in federal protection. Again, all the islands. This is what Hawaii will look like someday. This is Mauna Kea in French Polynesia. So these islands in the South Pacific are old. So erosion is eating away at these islands. So these islands are disappearing. So eventually Hawaii will look like this. And all that's left are the reefs around the islands. Everything else is literally going back into the ocean. This is what Hawaii will look like someday. This is the northwestern island. This is a Kure Atoll. This is what it looks like. The northwestern Hawaiian Islands. We've heard about this many times. Midway, this is what Midway looks like. It's just a small little airstrip. Battle of Midway. This is the Hawaiian name for it. Kauai, Helen. This is Pearl and Hermes Atoll. Again, these all have Hawaiian names. Because the Hawaiians did travel up to those islands as well. This is not part of the Hawaiian archipelago, but this is south of Hawaii, near the equator, Fanning Island. If you went on the 35-day Hawaii cruise, Hawaii, South Pacific, this is one of the stops they made. It's one of my favorite places of port of calls. I love Fanning Island because it's very primitive. The policemen are barefoot. There's only 2 cars on the island. The post office is made up of tarp. And it's quite unique, and we do make ports of call on Fanning Island. Yeah. And so this is, again, Darwin's explanation of these atolls. And so these atolls come up from the deep, but the tops are very flat. So this is what's left of an island after erosion into the wave. And these are more of these secondary eruptions. This is all East Honolulu that you're looking at. This is the Ko'olau Mountains, Ko'olau Poko and Oahu. Again, very vertical. You know, all those folds that you see in the mountains are created by water. So if you were to come here on a rainy day, you'll find hundreds of waterfalls cascading down the sides of these mountains. Very beautiful. There's one thing about Oahu is that my island is quite crowded, congested, concrete jungle. But it's still a very beautiful place, especially when it rains on this side of the island. And again, all volcanically formed. And these are the slopes of this great volcano. This mountain right here, the Ko'olaus, which stretch for 40 miles from Oahu, has been eaten away. Originally, this volcano stood almost 10,000 feet. Think about that. That the mountains you saw where the ship was once stood, it's only 4,000 feet, but imagine it was 6,000 feet taller than what it is. That erosion has eaten it away. These are islands that are trying to make it, but as it reaches the surface, it breaks the ocean surface and it dies out. And it leaves back these craters. This is off Maui called Moloka'i. Motu in Hawaiian means island. This is the different types of climate zones you'll find throughout the state of Hawaii. So Hawaii is unique. I think we have everyone with the exception of the last one, the Arctic. We have everything from hot deserts, snow-capped mountains. Very unique. And this is weather, of course, plays a big role in the creation of these islands. You can see rain coming over the mountains. So in Honolulu, for instance, on Oahu, the trade winds prevail from the northeast. As these winds are blown south, these are warm air. But when the warm air hits the backs of our mountains, the warm air gets sent back into the atmosphere. So when warm air rises, it meets cool air at the top. So when warm and cool meets, moisture begins to build, clouds begin to form. So it's oftentimes you see clouds sitting on our mountaintops. So when these clouds sit on our mountains, it rains. And so this rain, of course, eats away at the mountain. But as it gets, as the load gets lightened, the wind pushes it over. And as it pushes it over the city in this case, it drops a little bit more rain. But as it reaches Waikiki, it stops. So that's why Waikiki gets 9 inches, and 3 miles in gets 170 inches. That's quite amazing when you think that the coastline gets very little rain, but in the mountains they get a lot of rain. And that's why the clouds sit over the mountains as they do. This is volcanoes that have collapsed, that's created these beautiful swimming areas. This is Hanama Bay on Oahu. This is more of the tropics of the Hawaiian Islands. And so during the week that I'm here, I'm going to talk about, tomorrow I'm going to talk about migration. How did the Hawaiians get there? Who are the Hawaiians? Then I'm going to talk about kingdom to state. I'm going to talk about how we become part of the United States. I'm also going to talk about Pearl Harbor. I'm going to tell you stories from my family, from my grandparents, from my dad. You know, my dad, who's still alive, was a pre-teenager so he remembers Pearl Harbor. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about creatures. I'm going to talk about all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to show you great stuff. But thank you for coming, and I'll see you on the bottom. Have a great